Hi guys, welcome back. So this week in the Q&A, we're going to talk injury like Achilles tendinopathy or tendinitis. What do you do if it's acute or chronic? And that's a big thing that's missed. Talked about this on the plantar fasciitis that came up. We're going to talk about like calf tightness, kind of linked in with that as a question. Then we're going to look at a person training 5 times a week. How many sessions or workouts should they do? Two contrasting ideas. I'm going to give you my thoughts on this. Okay, let's get into it. All right, so let's start. I'm going to go through these first. So let's start with the Achilles issue. So got a question from a person saying, and let me go back. Got a question saying that like they are going to a physio. They have been given kind of exercise to do. The physio has talked about appropriate loading of the tendon, and that is important, appropriate loading. However, right, the thing you want to always ask yourself is, with Achilles tightness, with calf tightness, with even hamstring tendinopathies, is this acute or is this chronic? Is this something that's quite new, like say in the last week or two, because maybe I've been doing, at the moment, there's a lot of marathon training, like maybe you're upping the amount of mileage you're doing, or you're upping the amount of training that you're doing. That in itself is a massive increase in load. Okay, so I would call that an acute thing, something quite new, quite short term that we're talking about. If that is the case, managing the load on a tendon is always important, but you've already like increased the load on the tendon. So what you don't want to do is in your rehabilitation, try strengthen that area more. Okay, you can't strengthen an area while at the same time increase the amount of load on it through your running or other activities. Okay, if that makes sense. Like if you think all injuries are basically overload injuries. If the area is getting overloaded, the solution is not to load it up more if it's acute. So if you're increasing your mileage because it's coming up to a marathon or another race or something, and you're doing more than you normally do, either pace or distance, then the solution is actually to release that off with like your hockey ball or your foam roller, like keep the area nice and released if it's like calves. And then that came up to what the next question was. I'm just going to read out the question. It was won't be able to make the Q&A, but just I'm having it after 3 weeks of classes, my calves are getting quite tight, which isn't unusual for me. I did the lower limb strengthening class 20 to 30 minutes after also last week, but there was no calf raises / drops within the class. Should I include them also? So the answer is definitely not. Okay, if you're getting used to the type of training you're doing, or maybe the load is that you're new to Pilates, what you need to be doing is wearing compression socks for maybe 2 hours afterwards. I love always wearing compression socks in the evening time, doing some like, hockey ball, the bottom of your foot, foam roll or hockey ball your calves just to release them off. We have like our kind of calf release video. I'd recommend just doing that a lot. And then really what we want to do is like our single leg deadlifts, our bridges, getting other areas working to take the pressure off. So if we do our single leg deadlift, we're really working on the balance, the foot muscles, we're really working on the hamstring and glute, while we're also then still putting an appropriate load through the tendon. That way we get the whole leg stronger, which takes pressure off the calves. Okay, and I have just another question after coming in there as well, so I'll answer that in a second. So as I said, if there are acute issues, if they're in like the last week or two, and they're due to overload, do not overload them more with like heel drops, heel raises. If it's a chronic issue that you're managing, if you still are running at the same load, I probably still wouldn't do heel drops or heel raises for the calf. What you want to do is managing the load is important. A couple of things that you need to mention. There's no point resting. The tendon needs to have a certain amount of strength through it anyway. So unless it's very bad or you just want to take a week off to see if that just relaxes it off, brilliant. But otherwise, what you're going to do is have it that you don't want pain more than 3 out of 10. Okay, so the pain shouldn't be sharp. It should be just like a general niggle. If it's getting sharp, then you will have to either cut right back down till you get that or actually rest. Secondly, you shouldn't be limping or changing the way you run because of the pain you have. Okay, so we don't want more than 3 out of 10. We don't want it changing the way we're running, and we don't want it any sore the next morning. They're the criteria of if it's appropriate to run or not. Okay, so if those three are okay, continue to run. If it's just a general ache, what you'll see is hopefully it'll calm back down a little bit, and then judge the load you do based on that. If it's more than like a niggle or an irritation, then you're going to need to think of either rest or reduce the amount you're doing to manage the appropriate load. Because we want to put a certain amount of pressure through the tendon, but not so much that it's going above that 3 out of 10. If running makes it more than 3 out of 10, well, that's when you're going to start doing your heel drops, heel raises. I would recommend doing our Pilates and doing the calf rehab video that we do and see, does that keep it under 3 out of 10? Do that for a week or two. If that is, then try something like heel drops, heel raises included there. Then try back into like some easy jogging and build back up that way. So hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, just come back in again with some questions or whatever for next week, and I can answer that again. So that's the thing. Like, you do need appropriate load through a tendon, but generally everybody talks about like chronic tendonitis, but a lot of people don't have chronic tendonitis. It's something that gets sore because we increase the load, say during marathon season as it is, or half marathons, or just like the intensity goes up, it causes the area to be sore. The last thing you want to be doing is heel drops and heel raises. You want to actually get the rest of the leg working. You want to release off those areas. You want to wear compression socks. Same if your calves are tight, again, compression socks. Don't go to heel drops, heel raises. It's already a little bit tight. It's just really working on getting the rest of the leg strong. And generally, that was coming from Ronan. You probably find that the calves, I find it like, I have a patient here in Kilkenny. I won't say a second name, but Paddy, he'll know who I'm talking about. It's like his calves are nearly as big as freaking hamstrings. They're massive. So sometimes the calves can just be the ones that, depending on the body, that does take a lot of the pressure. So it's important not to really overly stimulate them, essentially. If it is a chronic issue, well, then 3 out of 10, and you're determining that the load shouldn't be any more pain than 3 out of 10. So a niggle shouldn't make you change the way you run, and it shouldn't be worse the next morning. And if it's okay, you can continue to run. If it's not, then I would recommend, say, do our Pilates, do the calf stuff, see if those three criteria are met. If they are, then after a week or two, you could add in heel drops, heel raises. After another week or two, then you could go back to light running and just build back up that way. Okay. Okay, next question then. Will I go in these order? Someone that's in the group is after like sending me a message, so I could not answer that. No, I'll go in the order. So the next thing I just want to talk about is how many workouts to do if you're running 5 days a week. Now, again, if it's something that like you've gone just up the 5 days and you haven't been doing it regularly, one workout. So I had a good podcast with Emma Dunleavy, and we just talked about that. If you have a 1 liter engine, you can't just jump into training that's like for a 2 or 3 liter engine. You can't just take a normal car and just throw it into Le Mans 24 and think it's going to last 24 hours running as hard as it can. So his thing is he does this one workout in a week, one long run. I think if you are doing it, like the person who asked about that was doing it maybe like 3 to 4 months of 5 days and then might do a little bit of an extra run. I think if you're doing that, and we're going to be doing a 5 and 10K type effort, we might even put in like sample training 4.5 up into December. I think you need to have your 2 sessions a week. I think it's just, we're having 2 rest days anyway. So I think we'll get way more bang for our buck doing the Pilates to stay injury free. And then that should allow us the strength to get away with 2 workouts. So if I was doing 5 days and it's up there as the sample training, the essential days that I would have is the Wednesday as a workout, or the Tuesday, whichever, and then at least 3 days off, another workout on the Saturday. one of those workouts would probably, we're all a little bit aerobic at the moment, just as we build a base. Make sure you stay within your zones, make sure you stay within your heart rates, based on a lactic test, and then just do we'll build towards a decent long run, and then the rest just easy running on the other 2 days. But I think having those three things as a staple will just performance wise will get a lot more than just having one workout and then just easy running. That's different now if you haven't been doing that. If you've been only running like say 3 days a week, build that in with like easier mileage for a fourth day. And even then, if like going from 4 to 5 is something new, then I still would do a workout. I still would do 2 workouts, but what I would do is I would make one of them an actual scheduled workout like I've given, maybe just pare it back a little bit. And then the second, I would just do it as in a run. So what I might do is like 15 minutes of a warm up and then just keep it at like zone 2. So an easy run with that little bit of like slight aerobic development. And I do maybe like 3 by 10 minutes at zone 2. So that's not even like that's just a normal run. Basically, that's a tiny bit harder. A lot of you'd find you'd go into zone 2 without trying. You're probably working a little bit too hard anyway. So my advice to people is get the heart rates, get the lactics done, and then stay within your zones. And I think it's easier to stay within the thing rather than doing just runs and then maybe going some hard some days and easy other days. I think having the 2 workouts plus a long run and then 2 very easy runs will give a nicer balance and better control. And then to see how you get on with it. It's probably better to at least try that. So I hope that makes sense. You know, if I was doing 4 days, I might just do a workout and a long run. If I'm doing 5 days and I've been doing it for like 2 to 3 months, like the guy was, I think stick to my schedule. We'll be sending them out each week if people are in for the 5 or 10K with the Pilates. That's going out. If you haven't got that, make sure you know about that, or just email us and we'll put you into the group. Okay, let me just go over some of the other questions. So can't make the call. Love the classes and the burn. Thank you very much, Kira. My main issue seems to be my hips and pelvis. I seem to overuse my left leg, can see on the left-right balance, and I always seem to get niggles in the adductor, quad, hamstring on the left side. My knees knock in a bit, so I have been really focused on the glute med exercises. Is there anything else I can add? Wait there now. Let me see what week you are in. Okay, so she's only been doing it 3 weeks. Next week, Kira, you're going to do week 4, which is my favorite week. Again, as I said, I had a hip problem for like 20 weeks. I couldn't even walk. And then I was doing the exercises I did in week 4, and like within 2-3 days, it was like bingo bango, way better. So you're going to see that's really going to help. The other stuff, and that actually brings me to what else I want to talk about: cadence and something about running posture. Okay, the other stuff, like, yeah, just work on your glute med stuff. In the class, we'll be doing it. You would have done the running man this week. Those kind of things, when you're running man, lifting the other hip slightly higher than the leg it's in standing will really help just transfer the work that we're doing. So don't worry about that. Over time, that'll start balancing out. You're only 3 weeks in, so I wouldn't overly worry about it. Just follow the classes. There is like the hip add-on that will be in week 4. Is this really good for you to continue? And make sure that you fill out your survey, put in like hips or pelvis, and you get that little 10-minute add-on plus the hockey ball work. Make sure you're bringing a hockey ball to bed and just really like working out the piriformis, working out the glute med, etc. And those things will kind of help as we go. Hope that answers. Yeah, so basically, look, just follow the plan. Like hip issues or pelvis issues, a lot of these things will resolve as you get stronger. You're only 3 weeks in. Week 4 is like literally designed for that. It's just the longer form of the hip rehab. Like if I have people going for like hip issues like surgeries, or that's the one that we try to get them up to that level. So when you do that next week, you'll see it'll free out your hips a lot. Okay, one other thing that was great was there was a guy asking about cadence and running. Should I change the amount I'm running? Like, how do you improve your cadence? Oh, someone's in. John's in. John, I'm just like gonna pin myself here. Perfect. I was hopefully meet him when he comes in. Um, one thing I got with Cadence, sure, like lads, don't. I got a great one there. A great message today. I'll be going out as I made it up as a little reel, so you'll see it on YouTube pretty soon. Name and to beginners, brilliant. Okay. Oh, he could be gone. So basically, she said like, I'll just bring in the message so I have it. That like basically she was like, I got a compliment as well. So she's like week 4, week 5 of the beginners Pilates. Um, completed the class and got a compliment that like I'm not leaning to the left when I was doing my tempo. And that's the way it should be. Not she doesn't think about staying upright. Um, what we've done is by giving her the building blocks, like so working on mobility, working on stability and activation, getting the strength better, then getting on your feet, doing exercises like the running man, like the single leg deadlift, like, even like squats or monster walks. We're developing the capabilities to allow the body subconsciously to run better. Okay, like there's a lot of like BS about running styles or running strides. There's no like that. There's no real like no top runner is like trying to run at a 180 cadence. Now, just as a matter of fact, that's exactly my cadence. But I know guys who can beat me well, who have like a cadence like 160. They just have longer strides. I have a slightly shorter stride, So don't like there are I know like um there are things you can do, right? So if you're trying to say improve your stride, here is how you do it. Okay, first you develop make sure that there's no mobility issues. You should work on your ankle, your hip, your upper back, your shoulders. They're the joints that should have good mobility. You should have a good range of motion at those joints. And a lot of times with sitting and whatever else, they can get reduced. I'm going to just drop to the edge of my seat and just bring my knee down. So I'm stretching my hip flexor when I'm talking on here, just as I think about that. Okay, improve the mobility. Then work on the stability and activation. Get the core working more. Get the shoulder blades working. We do like our band exchange a lot, like lifting the upper back, elbows to the side and exchanging. Working on the glute bridging. Get the guys in the class will tell you, like the bridging, the glute clam work, like side plank, core, crawling. Like we get these muscles burning. Like it takes a while, but they'll be on fire. That activates, that wakes them up, that gets them stronger. Okay, so now your body has like 2 building blocks. The last thing you need to work on in the class we work on is motor control. The first element is getting off the ground and back on our feet. It'll just allow your brain to kind of switch on what it's supposed to be doing. Okay, so not just we do glute clam, we then work that into the like monster walks. We don't work that into like a running man stride. So that allows the transfer from the ground of activation back onto our feet, which is much closer to a running action. And walking, like even if you don't run, that's just important to learn how to transfer that through for any kind of skill or task. The last thing, so in motor control, is that the last thing you can do is work on drills then. If you wanted to improve your stride, and then I'll talk specifically for cadence, but if I just wanted to work on my stride, high knees, I just have one arm up, the other arm up, then both arms up and don't let them move. That'll help like basically get the core not to rotate. So I'll do like high knees before I start. I'll do like bum kicks, but keep my knees out in front so I get that recoil. I'll do side to sides, like for a groin kind of one. I'll do like leg swings. I'll do strides, like just adding strides in, running faster. Your body will work out a more efficient way that will be able to transfer back when you're jogging. Specifically, if you did want to improve your cadence, what you would do is, if you can, like say on a track or something that like it's not super bobbly, well, you can actually run on uneven surfaces, because what you're trying to do is like heighten your body's ability to change the stride length. So it's not always like say heel and just like constantly doing the same thing. So putting little obstacles in your way. So we would merely put like mats down that you'd have to run on, or sticks, certain amount, certain parts, certain distances apart. It's all random, and you just run. So you do a stride, and then because when the stick's coming up, your cadence will have to shorten because you won't want to hit the stick. So it's just trying to change the variation. Then when you're coming onto the mat, again, you might have to go a little bit longer to hit the mat, and then the mat feels like a different surface. So again, you'll change your cadence and come back off. Also, as you said, doing strides on the grass can be a nice way, because again, you're naturally kind of changing the cadence slightly. So like that girl in her course, that's where you see it. When someone says, God, you seem to run a bit smoother, she's not thinking about like running more upright. And if she did, she would go backwards. Okay, as I said, I mentioned that study before where some people were watching the TV, some people were thinking about their breathing, and some people were thinking about their technique. The people who had the best running economy, based on the amount of energy they were using for running at a set speed, were the people just watching TV because they're not thinking about it. Bob Atara is like one of the #1 swing coaches in the world for golf. And a lot of times his advice is just like to professionals like Paul Carrington and these who have talked to about this, is like, just, you know how to swing a golf club. Just like look where you want to hit it and just hit it. Because even if you go into that, like, beginners think about what they have to do. Beginners think about all the steps. And then experts, that's all ingrained subconsciously. And in periods of stress, why like penalty shootouts are like such a lottery, is that because it's a stressful situation, people revert to a beginner's mindset. They actually start thinking about like, okay, I'm going to plant my foot here and I'm going to like swing through the ball. And it's like either really telegraphed for the goalie or they just hit it poorly like a beginner. Because if you just asked them on a normal day, they wouldn't think about what they do. They just put the ball down, look up in the corner and smash it into it. Or if you hear about like, Dennis Taylor talking about snooker, they were like knocking the black around the pit, missing easy shots. But he's talking about, it's like, oh, just swing through. That's not the way an expert usually thinks. Just look at the corner of where they want the pocket they want to put it in and just hit the ball. And it's the same with us. We just need to run. Okay, we can do drills like I mentioned there. We can do strides to keep it up. We can change if you do want to improve your cadence, that's kind of how you do it. You put little something to vary where you're hitting it, so you're externally focused on it. Or we could do like hills, but they're the main ways to do it. What you don't do is think, I want to shorten my stride or use a metronome to like actually hit the ground. That's like terrible advice. Okay, and it won't make you better. So I hope I'm being clear on that. That like the way to do it is develop the building blocks. Do some, if you want, then do just the building blocks will probably do it, but do some like external drills or work on a few of the things we mentioned, but never just constantly try to think about your stride. Never constantly think about how you're running. You'll run worse and you could give yourself an injury. Your body knows what to do way more than you do, or way more than some YouTube video knows what to do. And I know that's ironic that I'm in a podcast saying this, but I'm saying the opposite of what most people are saying. Just trust your body, give it the building blocks. When it's free, people, I always say that as to physio patients, it's like the great thing about our body, say for back pain or whatever else, is it wants to be healthy. We just put a lot of limiting factors in there. Okay, so gonna go through. Let me just see, was there any other questions? Okay, this was a good while ago, sorry, missed this. Got some moderate hamstring tendinopathies, is Brian. How long should I stop running? Also, should I be doing hamstring strengthening exercises during my running break, or should I wait until the pain subsides? Thanks for any info. Look, with a tendinopathy, I'd probably take a week off if it was sore, but after that, unless it calms back down, rest isn't going to work for this. And you can see people who take long breaks from running and then the pain goes and then they come back and it's like as bad as ever. So for me, you're better off like staying running or staying at least doing something under that 3 out of 10. So it comes back to that same thing. If it's under 3 out of 10, stay running. If it's not, if it's over 3 out of 10, well, stop, but then do your hamstring rehab. With hamstring tendinopathy, don't, like, if you're talking about strengthening the hamstring, like freaking hamstring curls with a TheraBand or with a band, you are so far off, it's unbelievable. So you need to be doing like single leg deadlift. You need to be doing a lot like long lever bridge, and then really working on the pelvic control. A lot of people with, you see, this is backwards for me. So a lot of people with, I'll do it this way. A lot of people with, oh God, all right. With a hamstring tendinopathy tend to have this anterior pelvic tilt, which kind of overly stretches the hamstring anyway, and then we're working it. So improving pelvic control and getting the glutes to work more will take pressure off the hamstrings. Again, like all running injuries are overload injuries. I don't know why this is so, like, for other fit. Now, in fairness, I have a few physios refer people into the Pilates, which I think is excellent. They do the hands-on work and then they send them to us for the rehab, which I think works great, because a lot of these stretching plans or what you're doing are like, just remember, it's an overload. It's overloaded. Why is it overloaded? Other areas like the glutes or the pelvis then is in a bad position, so it's mechanically like stretched, which then means it has to work a lot harder. So what you want to do is get the glutes working more, strengthen the hamstring, lengthening in like that eccentric, like with single leg deadlifts, work on pelvic and core control, and then do keep stuff going. You're not looking with a tendinopathy, you're not looking for 0 out of 10 pain and then come back. It's not like a hamstring tear. It's a longer process. You're talking like 12 weeks where you're having a bit of a niggle, but you're like building up the amount that you're doing up to the level that you're happy with, and then you're hoping that the pain subsides then. Okay, leave it there, guys. Short and sweet. If people have questions for next week, just let me know. I'm just going to pause for a second, and if I see any others, well, I'm going to say goodbye, and if you come back in 2 seconds, you'll know I didn't finish. I just looked up something. Sorry, I just have one more question in. So just based on the plantar one, I find when I do the single leg deadlift, it stresses the high hamstring tendon and climbing the stairs becomes sore. This is on the side with plantar fasciitis. Would a 2-legged single leg deadlift or squat shakers be a suitable substitute? I don't think so, not for plantar. What I think would be a better thing is, if you're in the group, Kieran, if you're in the Pilates group, just send me a video of you doing the single leg deadlift. What I think you're going to be doing, hopefully the back aware belts will help with this when it's ready, is you're coming too far down at your back. So just don't go down as far. So lead with the leg behind you and then stop earlier. So don't aim for like level, because I'd say what you're doing is kind of folding and then holding that. We want to more like just go to like a 45 degrees or even less of an angle and just focus on the balance component, because it's that balance component I want to kind of have you working rather than anything. So I don't think the double leg deadlift or squat shakers would be suitable, because that's going to hit the hamstring and glute a lot more, where I do want to work on that balance more when single leg, when it's the plantar fasciitis that you have. Yeah, but just don't go down as far, so to where the hamstring tendon is getting irritated. Just pull up from that area and then see, does that take the pressure off coming up the stairs, but still hit the plantar. Okay, and that is me done then, guys. Great. If any other questions or people have anything with the training that we sent out, I did a video for it, excited about it. If people want to jump on with that training for either 5K, 10K, or I can put ones together for a half marathon for like this December, let me know. And yeah, thank you. Take care.